Alrighty, so we're going to have people that'll keep logging in as we go, but we can go ahead and get started. My name is Emily Hemingway. I am your moderator for today's session. And I want to welcome you all to the webinar hosted by Object Computing on overcoming AI obstacles. Obviously, AI is the hot topic of the year, and every company, every nonprofit, every individual is having to learn how to really leverage this technology. There are 1,000 questions, there's just as many opportunities. So really excited to be able to explore this conversation with the folks at Object Computing and maybe answer some questions that you have. So to just clarify, this webinar is being recorded and it will be sent to you, emailed to the address that you used to register for this once we're done. There's also going to be a Q&A at the end of this session. So if you have a burning question, you can drop it into the chat and we will do our best to cover them at the end. I want to take a minute to first introduce myself and then have our rockstar presenters talk a little bit more about who they are. My name is Emily Hemingway. I'm the founding executive director of Tech STL. We are the tech council here in St. Louis. We support the innovation pipeline as well as the data economy in the 15 county by state. And I have the pleasure of moderating today's webinar, as well as now introduce the two experts that are going to be answering all of our questions about AI. First, we've got Dr. Yaqi Chen. So Yaqi is highly experienced in the domain of data science with more than a decade's worth of experience. She's the owner of 2 patents related to big data and ML and computer vision for the agriculture sector. She currently leads data science and ML innovation and delivery across the industry and departments, enabling solution, reusability, and scalability. Dr. Chen received her PhD from Washington University of St. Louis, Missouri, where she guest speaks from time to time. We also have today Andrew Montgomery. Andrew is an experienced technology executive and data strategist with over 20 years of experience with Fortune 500 companies. He's led technology investments in partnership with divisional investment steering at Bayer and Monsanto. His focus is helping customers strategically unlock their data to simplify business complexities and shape meaningful business outcomes. So first, I want to ask Andrew and Yaqi, how are you guys feeling today? You ready to have this conversation?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a great opportunity. We know companies are at various different points of their journey around data and AI and ML, and so what better way to really explore that than through these conversations today, as we talk about how do we unlock and really bring down those barriers.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for asking the intro, Emily. Great to be here. I really want to exchange a lot of detours, both tears and cheers over my last 10 years plus type of practitioner experience. So we're really happy to share those and to avoid those detours for everyone's own AI engagement.
Absolutely. So we have a packed agenda today. You guys have brought so much fascinating information to share with the group. So we're going to start first with a brief overview of Object Computing. You guys are the sponsors of today's webinar. You're also a member of Tech STL. You guys have been founding members from the beginning. But we're going to talk specifically about why AI and why now. Right? Everybody's here because we know this is a very relevant and important conversation. You guys are going to help really pull back the curtains on what AI is looking like right now. So we're going to discuss 5 helpful strategies that are targeted for enterprises to overcome AI-specific obstacles. And last, we'll have about 10 minutes or so for Q&A. So if you've got those questions, drop them in the chat, and we will try to get through as many of those as we can. So be sure to add that throughout the presentation. But so Andrew, if you want to kick us off, tell everybody about Object Computing.
Yeah, thank you. So Object Computing is a 30-year-old consultancy firm here based in St. Louis, but supporting customers around the globe. We specialize in software engineering and solutions in the digital ledger and blockchain space, as well as AI and ML. They're really sustainable and scalable, so meeting the customers where they're at. The next slide. And we do that through a number of concentrations, specifically around application development, where we'll build bespoke custom applications from top to bottom. We'll do application modernizations. We'll help clients take applications from on-premise, perhaps, modernize the technology stack, and then move them to the cloud. We'll also build custom models, do analytical programs and insight initiatives, building data insights, AI and ML solutions. And we also bring embedded engineering. We bring extremely experienced engineers to meet with the customer, meet on site, meet at their needs as they need them, to really approach the problems that they have. So these are the kind of the four ways that we do what we do.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the conversation all about AI. It's interesting because AI has been around for a long time. This is not something, those who have been in the tech world, we've known a lot about AI, but this is the time when the whole world started really exploring the opportunities of AI. It's been a unique opportunity for those people that were already deeply invested in artificial intelligence and machine learning, for them to really lean into this global conversation about innovation. So Yaqi, you are absolutely one of those. You've been in this field for a very long time, super active in a lot of ways that industries have been engaging with AI. Can you talk about what is actually keeping you up at night when it comes to the AI innovation that is happening right now? What's making you most optimistic about what's really on the horizon for artificial intelligence?
It's literally keeping me up all night. I'm happy to keep that motion of the excitement and achievement feelings, just who I am as a consultant, as a person, a practitioner in this space. It's really the democratization of this AI technology for everyone. You don't need to be a Fortune 500 to be able to harness the power of AI, right? You run any business, a pizza place, a shop, you should be empowered to leverage AI to maximize your business value. And that's makes me really exciting and really confident to really share my experience to everyone who has the passion.
I can't agree more. This is the best time to be an innovator. There's more opportunity for more people because of just all the new innovation that's happening in AI. So Andrew, what about you? What's keeping you up at night?
Yeah, I would say, for me, what keeps me up at night is unfortunately sort of the misinformation that I think still exists in the ecosystem around what AI and ML and in the adjacent technology areas are. That people are rushing to do things but don't always understand what they're doing. And ultimately, they're taking jabs in the dark in some cases, and they don't really understand the science or the math that's really there. And so that misinformation keeps me up at night, and constantly things I'm thinking about: how do we communicate? How do we share and educate people differently? But what excites me, though, sort of in parallel to that, is that I think there's great dialogue that in enterprises today, in academics, in community environments, and policymakers, we're talking about the power of AI, and we're not afraid to look at where it could take us. And I think as long as that conversation continues to develop, we'll navigate the misinformation, and we'll find the land of the opportunity that Yaqi was just talking about.
It's funny, just this morning I was having a meeting with the folks at St. Louis University, and they were talking about how, they've had an AI curriculum program for several years, and pretty consistently every year they've gotten around 30 students to apply for the graduate program. And just within the past few months, they had 180 students apply. And so as we're starting to see just this increase, this surge of interest, a lot of these programs are really having to lean into how they capture and scale up to be able to support this. But it is really exciting, not just for students, not just for innovators, not just for business owners, of how we are making this tool now applicable across the board. So I try to be really honest with folks. I run Tech STL. I'm in technology all the time, but that doesn't mean I'm an expert in all of this technology, not by a long shot. And so especially with ChatGPT and what's going on in this space, it's moving so fast that there's no way that I could run this organization and keep up with all this innovation. So I love hearing directly from the practitioners that are really in the trenches and talking more about, how this is developing and what the tools are looking like. What are the new tools and resources that are now available? So Yaqi, we're going to go back over to you. Can you tell me why you think this first tip is so important for enterprises to know, and how we support them as they're also getting engaged in this process?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your candidness in this space. I'm sure a lot of the audience today are of various maturity level in their AI journey, and I'm really happy to talk through and meet with where you are. I guess it's no secret that the whole AI is powered by data or big data. Even big data is a table stake these days. You just have data capture everywhere. Accessibility is greatly lowering their bars. However, it poses new challenges of what are going to do with the data. Are you just taking as it is, or there's some special consideration before you feed your data into your AI engine? The answer is definitely the latter. Like, you need a really mature data governance framework to help you get most of the data you collected. The good news is there's a lot of matured framework out there you can adopt, and speaking of those platforms that makes the developer tool very accessible, all those major cloud vendors, AWS, Google GCP, and Microsoft Azure, they have their own competitive offerings in this space. You just need to learn how you can pick and choose the best ones that suit for your own use cases. And as an example, I want to share a very recent success we had with a reference client, where we actually turned them hundreds of terabytes of big data problem to gigabytes of manageable problem. The secret is not like we're truncating their data, not at all. It's just by optimize the data formats and the footprints in the memory, we were able to convert this super big problem to a very manageable problem. And you can imagine like how many compute resources and people's time are saved in this process, right? You can start with big data and distill in a way that captures all of this meaningful information in that raw data, but still work as a very affordable resource to get the meaningful insights from that data. So we're very proud, and the client was very happy. So that's something I want to really share with the audience here. Speaking about the third bullet here, what you can see from bottom right, that at Object Computing, we are constantly exploring partnership across the board. The partnership we have with STL is more on the local community and outreach. And for this type of partnership, where I'm talking specific about data, the external data partnership, like data can be seen as a moat for a lot of data vendors. Planet, USDA, those are, Planet is a private satellite company. They have tons of Earth observation data, and we work with them to really enhance our geospatial capability, because there's no way for us to, launch a satellite to the Earth and try to capture the information that our clients would want to use. And we're also a Google Earth Engine worldwide partner, maybe a handful of them within 5-ish in the whole world. We're honored to be part of it. It's really cool, like we can really unlock a lot of potential with those top-notch companies through this partnership. While you're not limited to only working with private data, you can also work with public data like USDA, NOAA. They also have very accessible data for, in particular, small, medium business to tinker with. It shouldn't stop you there by, oh, I really don't have the data I want to build my AI insights.
Yeah, well, data is definitely the name of the game. I love how you guys put together. So you've got tip number 1, empower data access and quality, really starting with that foundational conversation around understanding the role of data and big data in this. Then we look at tip number 2, which is invest in expertise. Yaqi, can you talk about how this works with tip number 2 as well, and define what that really means in what you guys have seen with object computing?
Yeah, totally. This tip is really at the core of any business when we think about where a society built with people, and people really are the most critical asset for every company, including AI and its applications across industries. It's always a good practice to frequently assess your org's fit for mission. That's what we constantly do at object computing, to see where the talents are at and where they can improve to be more resilient to all the ever-changing world. And then prioritize the decision regarding who you really need to hire, right? We always need to hire people that we might not really thinking about a long time ago. So, and also including which SMEs. SMEs is really important add-on. I will give an example on that for this tip. So we really had cheers and tears, as I mentioned earlier, in adopting this tip. This tip seems very straightforward, and everybody will agree with that. But in the actual implementation of this tip, is relatively hard. There are cheers example goes to our really geospatial capability again. So on the bottom right, you can see our Clear Sky app for this weather damage assessment. We built this app from, it's rooted from our combined geospatial expertise of over half a century of expertise in this space, including myself and my past experience. And we knew very well that the heavy lifting of this geospatial pipelining and this heterogeneous data layers of assembly and geo-alignment and processing, you don't want to really do that if you already know somebody else already did that. So we know that very well, and we've done that in a very hard way in the past. So we really want to make it very accessible with really minimum coding involved for our future clients. So the app, it's an app, but it's actually a framework that you can actually pick and choose the right components to deal with your own business cases. In this case, you have not only the tornado, or which is actually seen in this image, is a specific tornado building damage assessment. It doesn't have to be a tornado. It can be flood or any other natural disaster. And speaking of the building assessment, it can go beyond building. It can go beyond extendable to infrastructures, to the power lines, anything you can think about. So we make this tool super flexible and resilient, and because we know like our clients don't want to deal with all the heavy lifting and really this SME requirements, because you really need to know what are the in and out in that bespoke solution. So that's the cheer for Pad. We're really proud to have that application open up, and we have done many demos on that. There's another example on this, how we turn those tears to cheers. It might be a little, it has a very well-known, notorious issue in healthcare, that data is really a barrier. So if you look at the top right corner of what the type of data people are dealing with in this space, it's a lot. It's multi-modality, and you don't really even know what those schemas, what the column names are for, because people who created that data, they don't really expect the data to be used by a data scientist, right? You really need the people who can kind of decipher to some degree of how this data means to you in order to draw a meaningful insights from it. So we learned that in a hard way. And it's the SME knowledge really rescued us, and we delivered a really nice insight to a government agency, very valuable, innovative solution for them. And we were really proud of that, but at the same time, we really want to share that tip with the audience here.
Yeah, that's great. And I definitely can see kind of the linear steps with these tips of, starting with understanding how you expand out your data sets and what really you're able to have access to. The second is then finding the folks who are experts within this space and can really up level what you do with that data. The third step that you guys have, the third tip, I know it will likely present a challenge for some folks, but it also, before you start engaging these other experts, you want to start with defining your clear business value metrics, right? So asking the question of, we've gathered all this data, we've found the groups that can really take our work to the next level. Now, what are we really trying to accomplish with this effort? So Andrew, can you clarify why this is so important and what you recommend for companies as they're going through this process of really defining their value metrics?
Yeah, absolutely. It goes without saying in a lot of ways, talking with peers and friends, honestly, many data projects, many AI and ML projects, they go sideways for various different reasons. And it's really common for businesses, for teams to maybe blame the technology. Like, we just didn't use the cloud right, or we just didn't use the database correctly, or this or that technology. And ultimately, what I've observed is that it really comes down that the technology team, the data team, and the business stakeholders really weren't aligned in understanding what their clear objective was, and ultimately what their clear business value metrics were. And so it is imperative that that as programs and investments are being shaped, that partnership between the implementers, the technology organization, and the business stakeholders is clearly established, and that understanding, that alignment, and that partnership on what those objectives are well defined. And from there, and then it just becomes, once you've worked through that hard stuff, it really just becomes a progression of iterative process management. We're going to make some changes, we're going to implement some things, and we're going to constantly be looking at where are we at relative to those measurements. Because at the end of the day, the organization has made a commitment. They're going to make an investment. And it is our responsibility and that business stakeholders' responsibility to see that investment is wisely pursued. And in that case, if you have clear objectives and clear KPIs established, as that program is unfolding, you can be constantly measuring, constantly learning as your progress, and perhaps maybe you pivot. Maybe you learn something in your data that you didn't know before, or you learn something about your business process that you weren't expecting, and you make a pivot, and you still deliver on that value. You still deliver on that investment. And that's really, I think, the important agile element of this that sometimes gets overlooked because we get so excited about the technology. I just want to run off and go do something, and I miss how to really connect it back to the core objective.
Yeah. Sorry, Emily, if I might.
Go ahead.
Yeah, add up. I cannot agree more. I think it's very critical to really have that clear business metrics. At the same time, echoing what I mentioned earlier about the world is changing, especially for a lot of startups, right? They are in this constant exploring of and validating their business models. So we have to acknowledge that it's hard. So while it's hard, is there anything we can do to make your approach resilient to this changing scenario, macro environment stuff? So I want to share an example. We recently helped clients in the venture capital backed up startup where they eventually pivoted to a different direction. However, their feedback to us is they were really appreciative of all the infrastructures we actually helped them build, because we knew that at the beginning, like, well, you might change as much as they say, well, this is the thing we're going to do 2 years ago. It changes. It just changes inevitably. And we gave them the solution that we knew they're going to find usefulness of this, regardless of what they were to do. And I can share some secret sauce here, is that think about infrastructure implementation of all the data related management and deploy pipeline if you're closer to product. That's something you would want to invest at the core of the investment that goes a long way. You can reuse it and you don't have to hire consultants like us to build it over again every time you want to change a business direction. This is a big learnings and rewarding for us. Like it actually pays off our careful thinkings at the beginning. Two years ago, we already see this coming as a like proactive approach. So I want to share that. Thank you.
So the entrepreneur in me gets super excited about this whole process because I feel like it's almost like ChatGPT challenged the whole world to remember what it's like to be super innovative, right? And I love Andrew when you talked about like the need to be agile and to really lean into pivoting. Like do you guys see that this is presenting not only an opportunity but a challenge to a lot of these larger companies that they haven't had to be this nimble in the face of disruptive innovation in such a long time? Are you guys seeing that play out with some of your clients?
In short, yes. It always depends on where the client is and their journey. Like some are already in the very agile, very product oriented, footing. Some are more, we have this objective and we don't necessarily know how to do it. We just know that's where we want to be. And so bringing the agile mechanic into a data conversation is helpful because then they feel like they can shape it and control it over time versus just waiting until the end, waiting till this, this big job is done, this big thing is done, and then they'll see some result. And ultimately, if this is weeks, months, or even years later, you may not remember what that looked like at the beginning or what you were really wanting to get out of it. And you may feel dissatisfied. And so having this iterative approach, even in a data context, is extremely powerful.
But I think one of the opportunities that startups have is that they can be this innovative because they can practice more ongoing risk in their business, right? They can take risks. It's a lot harder for enterprise level companies, for corporations to really lean into managing innovation related risks. So, and that gets us to our fourth tip. And Andrew, can you talk a little bit more around why it's so important to prioritize risk management and security, especially as people are really looking at rolling out some new AI powered innovation that they have?
Yeah, I really love this tip. It's one of those that you can either have a love for, or maybe even a love-hate relationship with ultimately. Some are going to find, the fact that we're talking about data and risk management, security, maybe controversial. I think it's something that has to be a core of any mature, data program, data practice. Over my career, I can remember early days in the data, the AI world, where I was like, let's just go get this done. Let's do something innovative. Let's just wait and see. I'll show you this great thing. You're going to love it. As I've matured in technology, and unfortunately, as the world is also sort of grown and demonstrated, they'll take any length to take advantage of a situation. And so in mindfulness of that, we recognize that you have to think about security from the very beginning, right? You have to really embed it into everything you do, because whether you believe you're at risk or not, the reality is you likely are, and just don't realize it. Be that on-prem inside your four walls, or be that in the cloud, and open to the world. And so, we recommend that you really take a sort of an embedded approach to security within your data practice, going beyond just protecting networks, but really infusing best practices into policy management, metadata management, and as you build and design from the ground up. At the end of the day, we want to be a data-driven organization. You want to be a data-driven organization. Why not take a data-driven approach to security and risk management within your data practice? The information is there. You're mining it, you're generating it, just turn that back around and treat it like any other data science, data engineering problem. And I think you'll be surprised with what you can achieve.
Well, and so this is a conversation that we are now just continually having in this community because there's so much information. Things are moving so fast. People are racing to keep up and figure out what they need to know in order to really be competitive and to be part of this global race. Andrew, can you talk a little bit about what people do when they need to talk to someone and ask these hard questions, when they're trying to talk to experts who understand these pieces? Where do they go? Who do they call? What does that look like?
Yeah. So first off, just in general, let me say, kind of even still back to security in some context, you know, get to know your security experts, whether they're inside your four walls in your organization, get to know them, make them your best friend. They ultimately always want to help you. And if you don't have embedded security experts in your organization, then find an external data fluent, partner to work with, like object computing. Second, don't try to do everything all at once. And, with the exception of, let's be compliant, follow regulations and so forth. So whatever that means for you, don't short that, but recognize that many security programs and practices can be implemented in phases. You're managing the risk as you're progressing through that, whatever change management you have to go through. And then really thirdly is that you really embrace security risk management as a challenge. I've found that that really putting that question about what you can do in your data platforms to your data engineers and your data community, that they will find creative solutions. Make it part of your organizational goals to implement these things, and be delighted what the outcomes can be. Manage it, shape it, scope it, but I think you'll be delighted. I've been. And that really takes me to our fifth tip here, which is really about really how to engage. So, prescriptive guidance is an important element. It's certainly something that we do here at Object Computing, and have many tools and techniques to do so. But first, let me say that there's so much in this space that's changing. Emily, you referenced this earlier on. The data ecosystem, the AI and ML space, generative AI, the amount of innovation that's coming and the speed at which it's happening is astronomical, and it's only going to continue to grow and get faster. And so it's really important that we lean on each other as community members to really get the insight and guidance we need to be successful. And so one way that we do that at Object Computing is through our Quick Start programs. We have tailored engagements and programs, be them several hours, a day, a couple days, a week, and longer, where we can really help bring that guidance to the forefront. And we do that really to really help jumpstart and put people on the right track, meeting them where they're at in their data journey, but ultimately helping them unpack and tackle these tough challenges. And along the way, we love to learn about those respective businesses and clients and customers, to really understand the challenges that they're facing, and ultimately create a better community overall.
I love that. The workshops are also something that at Tech STL we're really looking to explore, because I think having a place where folks can not only learn the ropes, but also have a direct access to the experts, building those relationships, as like it's having the folks that you can really turn back to when you've got other questions and you really just need to sit down with someone that understands what that looks like. Knowing how to find those folks is really helpful. Okay, so that was a really great breakdown of your 5 tips. I'm going to run through them just one more time so that everybody was able to hear them. So tip number 1 is empower data access and quality. Tip number 2 is invest in expertise. Tip number 3 is define clear business value metrics. Tip number 4 is prioritize risk management and security. And tip number 5 is to get prescriptive guidance. So we're now going to open it up to some Q&A. If you guys have questions that you want to ask the presenters, we had one question early on from Joe that asked around if there were examples around geospatial data being used for AI applications. You guys referenced a couple of different projects that you have that's tied to geospatial. Yaqi, Andrew, would you guys be able to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. I can start, and Andrew can add on whatever I'm missing. So the Clear Sky app, I don't know if we can fast backward to the slide. The one we showed, like, I can identify the building damage based on the image we collected. It's actually applicable to both drone images. It's also applicable to satellites, given, of course, you probably want really high resolution ones that can give you more of a information details of the building or any infrastructure you want to build. So that's the type of data we're kind of dealing with day to day, really through our partnership in the space. There are other geospatial data accompanied in that space for different applications. Think about the soil data from for the United States, it's called the Circle. That's kind of like the public data from USDA. It kind of tells you the type of the soil in the land you're interested in, and the moisture, the composition, is clay or sand. It tells a lot. It speaks a lot about the productivity of the field, etc. And also weather data from NOAA is a frequently used data sources in broader geospatial and weather space. Note that I would say it took us a long time to really recognize that those different data, we call it heterogeneous. What that means is they are geospatial and temporally very different frequency or resolution, right? Weather data, it probably doesn't change from 10 kilometers away from where I'm standing. However, it changes very fast, right? For satellite images, those kind of data, they don't really change for like every seconds or every hour. Or think about soil data. The soil composition won't be changed overnight. They stay still for at least a year. That's how USDA do their survey, at least once every year. But they varies a lot geospatially. So how can you put those heterogeneous data together and can want to get the most of their combined insights? It's hard. And we figured out, it took us a long time in my prior career to really figure it out. And I really want to call that out to folks who want to leverage the geospatial data. There are a lot out there, but handling those things are very heavy lifting.
Yeah. Actually, I would add that, thinking more broadly, pretty much everything that I've been a part of for the last almost 20 years is somehow tied to an event that occurs, a decision that needs to be made, and ultimately relative to information that happened at a location, at a place, at a time. And in that context, geospatial data is a fundamental connector of almost all things when it comes to information. We've all built data warehouses in the past and looked at business results and things of that nature, but all those results all originated from someplace, somewhere. And so the power to really look at causality relative to geography is really important. And so at object computing, we analyze imagery. We pull hyperspectral information from satellites and analyze that. We look at color bands. We look at data that's not based on color bands as RGB, as we think of them as images, but look at much more complex data sets. We connect to moving sensor vehicles, specifically trains and other forms of movement, and we pull those log data together and analyze them into these really high capacity throughput pipelines that ultimately result in images like you saw from Yaqi and the Sky app. So it's a pretty complex, space, both from a data processing, a data consumption, and then ultimately bringing that information back in a really simplified way. Because ultimately, working in geospatial is very complex. Like, it's not just lats and longs, but there's all sorts of different complex data sets that have to be woven together. and then to simplify that for the end user so that they can make a discrete, really, complex decision simply and quickly is really important to us.
Well, and we could geek out over data talk all day long. We're actually going to pull it
Absolutely.
back for the next question, which is, do you have any recommendations on how to prioritize AI projects, especially if resources are limited? So looking at the smaller companies that may not have a ton of funding to throw at the project, where would they start?
Yaqi?
Yeah, we've definitely helped a lot of small to medium, even large enterprises, because we have to recognize resources are always going to be limited. This is just reality, and regardless, we're trying to prioritizing this kind of decision makings because there are still quite of a big investment when you talk about AI these days. I would love to see them being more affordable, and that's what we're striving for as well. We have different approach to really help clients to assess the prioritization. There are multiple dimensions when it comes to the final decision. One dimension is definitely the value proposition. We're kind of relying on our business stakeholders to really tell us the value associated with every opportunity, right? We can figure out the cost of it very quickly based on our expertise. And then the third dimension is what are the tech stack that are already available, right? Is there any things we can take advantage of what's already been built and do minimum efforts to uplift it? That's the approach we're also want to factor into our prioritization process. And the last one, which we often frequently use to help clients achieve the joint optimization, is that we try to find the synergies across different use cases. Because of this years of experience, we retrospect a lot. We kind of assess, okay, you want to do A, you want to do B, you want to do C. But A and B actually share a common data pipeline. B and C shares a common deep deployment pipeline. How can you tie a price tag for each of this pipeline or methodology-wise tie the price to each of those, and then you can bring back and assign the weights and votes to each of those investment. That helps a lot, and I think that also ties back to the point I mentioned earlier about how can we invest those core capability that actually goes a long way, regardless of the fast changing priorities. And clients love to see that. They like to see the reusability. They like to see the scalability of the things instead of reinvent the wheel and building everything from scratch.
Great. Andrew, do you have anything that you would add to that?
That was perfect.
There you go, Yaqi, you nailed it. All right, so the next question is talking about the federal government. How do the new regulations of the federal government affect any of the work that is happening with ChatGPT? Obviously, this is a national conversation. So how are those impacting at least this side of innovation?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I mean, I think I'll go back to the comment I made before. Policymakers talking about AI. You could say that's a bad thing. We don't want people talking about it, but in reality, I think it's a great thing. I think it's creating a conversation that has been long overdue in a lot of cases. I think, I don't see anything happening in the sense that we're going to shut down innovation. I think innovation is going to continue to be promoted. We know geopolitically, we need innovation here in the United States. We need innovation here in our market. We're going to do everything we can to make that happen. And I think that will hold true long into the future. But I think what we'll see is where we need to do some reporting about how we're using AI, how it connects to the human in the loop interactions, and those types of things. And I think that's yet to be written. We don't know what that's going to look like yet. But I don't think that whatever that turns into is going to be a blocker for innovation. It's just going to be an added responsibility that we will need to comply to that should be reasonably, and I hope to be reasonably low cost in the context of the outcomes and the opportunities we have to bring AI-driven solutions, data-driven solutions to the masses.
If I can piggyback on what Andrew just mentioned, I took a deeper look at all the executive order that was released last week. I'm actually pleasantly to see that it has a fairly good coverage. As a practitioner in the space, I'm really happy to see that. And second is it gives very positive reinforcement of really hiring AI talents in the space to help guardrail the AI application. It's like using AI to fight AI, quoted fight, but I'm actually very happy to see a very positive tone from the government to leverage AI, not try to slow down the development, because no one's going to slow down. Like, it's just the reality we're living.
Absolutely. So the next question is actually going back to looking at object computing. So the question is, what are the key skills and expertise that your team has in-house specifically for AI development?
Yeah, I can talk that since I'm kind of working with a team day to day, and I'm really grateful to have a very hybrid team, which is we're adopting the tip we come up with. Having this hybrid team that ranging from cloud, from data engineer to data scientist to ML ops are basically a must. You just need to cover every component, every stage of the machine learning lifecycle, from the warehousing, cloud infrastructure, to the bespoke models, computer vision, NLP, or large language models, and to the deployment with this automation, scalability, cloud agnostic deployment, those different aspects. You just have to, because we're helping clients and meeting clients where they are, and clients have different tech stack on their own, right? It's hard to really convince them to really switch to something that you are familiar with. It's never happened. So we are really meeting our clients, and we are some outstanding things I would call out is that we made into even a product offering, is this this geospatial is apparently a very solid product offering. We also have specific NLP applications for the real industry, transportation industry, to deal with some of the root cause analysis. So that's already a product. Another outstanding thing that companies of our sizes are often not really equipped with are the graph database. I want to advertise for my talk at Scale AI from the event Emily and Tech STL is hosting in December. It's talking about graph, how graph and graph database and analysis really helps you to elevate your data insight from the regular, like traditional structured or a relational database. So that's another shining point. Another relatively strong but really can be overlooked capability is our operations research capability, where we helped clients building products in their space to guide the drone routing to the right place when they are surveying the fields. We're also helping transportation company to really optimize their network, and also helping healthcare industry to schedule their caregivers schedule. So there are a lot of application in this space. I can keep doing, and I will suggest you talk with our sales team and myself after this call. But thanks for the question. Really great one.
Andrew, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just say that, broadly, as Yaqi was describing, we go really deep in the technology, and as you would expect from a technology consulting firm like ours. But we also really value the SME and the domain expertise that really has to bring these solutions together. And so whether we bring that to the table, given our exposure and experiences, or whether we lean into SMEs that a customer and a client have, we want to bring that whole solution together and really provide that end-to-end full stack experience, be that with a UI or be that without a UI, when it comes to these data programs.
Well, so the last question is looking forward, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm shocked to tell that it's November and we're almost at the end of 2023. Now looking at what's happening in 2024, right? All of this happened in ChatGPT just in the past year. What are you most excited about when you're looking at emerging technologies or emerging trends that's on the horizon for 2024? What does that look like, especially around implementation? Tell us about what that is. Andrew, you start.
Yeah, one thing I am really excited about, and I don't want to sound like I'm jumping on some bandwagon or anything, but I am excited about sort of generative AI solutions, but not for maybe the reasons why you might think. I am really excited about looking to the future where we really make traditional AI models interoperable with this expanding world around generative AI. We know generative AI can take a lot of really great insights and inputs and try to formulate an approximate answer to something. And that's really important. It can generate an image, or it can generate text and so forth. But what I'm really excited about is seeing how more traditional models like processing, X-ray images that are really fine-tuned to that particular problem space are then integrated into these generative AI ecosystems as sort of plugins, if you will. I'm excited about that. I know we're doing some really great things here at Object Computing as we're looking at that space as well. And I think that's something that's really going to pick up in 2024. Yeah,
Yeah, if I might. Yeah, thank you, and for the question. I think I have my own bet, and it was funny. I want to share that at the beginning of this year, I wrote a blog about hope for 2023, and one of them was the hardened legislation of AI. It came true. I'm not claiming any credit, but I definitely see that this multimodal generative AI is something both the research academia and the industry are embracing. Think about the recent OpenAI Dev Day, where they show how you actually have your answer visualized. This kind of cross-modality, cross-senses of models are going to greatly help people who have certain disability. That's the biggest I can see as we really democratize the value of Gen AI across people. And then if you really think about the true innovation of large language model or Gen AI, it's really the interface revolution. It's whether it's audio or video or text. This is the way that revolution, the way you traditionally deals with certain things in certain way, but it's actually different or more convenient, accessible by plugging in Gen AI. We have some work in progress in-house for a similar offering like that. And we would be happy to really share any progress and workshops for the future. Another thing kind of related to this is the IoT version of the Gen AI. We have strong IoT team within OCI and been talking about how you make really the Gen AI quantized small enough, instead of 100 billion or 10 billion even, that size of model. Can you make it small enough to be processing intelligently in a device that everyone can use it? So I really have high hope for those two.
Well, so as we wrap up, I want to just give a quick summary. You guys shared a number of really great resources. You've got your quick start workshops. For people who are interested in learning more about that, where would they go to find more details?
Yes, so if you want, so the next slide, our fearless sales director here, Matt Bremer, reach out to Matt. He'll happily connect you with the content. We'll also, as you said, Emily, at the beginning, we sharing this content with all the participants and the emails they use to register. So follow up information will all be there. Yeah.
Great. And then Yaqi did it. She talked about she's going to be speaking at our Scale Point event that kicks off. It's a 3-part series. The first one is on December 13th. Yaqi will be there talking about graph. So super excited to bring it out, share just more information about what's going on. And be sure to contact Matt if you've got questions. Watch your email for the video of this. And if you have any follow-up questions, circle back to the object computing team. I just wanted to thank you guys all for coming out today. Thank you, Yaqi and Andrew, for a killer presentation, tons of information that was shared. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to support your guys' work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for hosting us, Emily.
Yeah, happy
Thanks
to.
everyone's attention, all the questions.
Yep.
Excellent.
I hope
Have a
everybody
great
has
day.
a great day. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.